All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Loan Signing Agent's Guide to Specializing in Reverse Mortgages. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. We're here with a very special guest and friend and expert in reverse mortgages, Miss Nina Penny. Nina, how are you today?
Great, Bill. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited. There's 183 people on right now.
Yeah, it's a great crowd. I think that really speaks to the heart of the notary that is on the call today, because reverse mortgages, of course, serve senior market or senior demographic in the United States. And I think so many of us got into this business to help people and to be of service. And there's no better way to do that than in reverse mortgages.
Yep. And I know that this I would like to just tell everybody today, there was an article that came out in a trade publication. And that article went on to say the number of people who are looking for reverse mortgages is increasing. The numbers are really, really drastic. And the people who are reaching out to get information, to get into the counseling, to get the ball rolling, so to speak. So, you know, tonight's a great time. And I'm pretty excited for this.
I think, I know we're going to get into it a little bit more, but this really speaks. I mean, the spike in interest in reverse mortgages and spike in applications for reverse mortgages really probably stems from
You're blurring a little bit, I think.
So I think it might be on your end. Oh, is it mine?
Mine.
It could be on mine. I'm going to blame you for everything, as usual. No, sorry, guys. So, but one of the reasons that there's such an interest right now is because of the time we're in. Reverse mortgages can be a great financial tool to help protect against financial crises like many are experiencing right now. And I know we're going to get into that. So, guys, here's the basic layout of the call. We're going to do a brief intro of Nina. Then we're going to have a great presentation and conversation with me about reverse mortgages. We got actual presentation. And then at the end of that, we're going to make an offer on certified reverse mortgage training professional program. And then also we're going to open it up to Q&A. So you can ask Nina any question that you want, and myself as well, about how these reverse mortgages work and how you can blend them into your business model. All right, so let's get started here. I'm just going to share my screen real quick.
See, Bill, I know that I just want to start off by saying this, just so we all start off, and I have 200 people to witness what I'm going to tell you right now, Bill, is
Great.
that I hate to say it, but it is you that is gurgling and not me. But I started, Bill told me, don't worry about the chat because I'll take care of it. And now I know why, because he's going to gurgle and he's going to say it's my fault. But guess what? That's because he doesn't think I'm reading the chat. So anyway, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll take full responsibility for this. It is my fault and my internet's going, but I'm going to turn it over to you anyway, Nina.
Okay. So first of all, some of you don't know who I am, which would not be surprising, but I'm Nina Penny. I am a certified reverse mortgage professional. There's less than 145 in the United States. So there's a lot of people out there that do reverse mortgages, but very few are actually certified. It's a certification through NRMLA, which is the National Reverse Lenders Association in Washington, and they also do a lot of advocacy for our program, for our seniors. I love reverse mortgages. I love the population. I've been a loan officer since I was 18 years old, and how I got my business all the years, I'll never know, because I did not work well with real estate agents. So it was always amazing how I got successful, or how I made a living, let's put it that way. And then I started doing reverse mortgages, and today I am sought out and highly regarded, which is makes me feel very good because I work very hard at it. I love the population. I love that right now there's 215 people on this call who just want to learn a little bit about reverse mortgages and a little bit of the demographic and the need. So thank you for taking the time. And I'm sure Bill and I worked on making sure this value, so you know what, when you get off the call, you can learn something about reverse mortgages. You probably have a laugh because there's always something that's going to go on, some kind of banter with Bill. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, it will definitely will be. I'm going to try to chime in, and hopefully I'm not too gurgly, but I want to also just mention to everybody on the call today that Nina and I met at a loan closing for one of her reverse mortgage clients.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then we happened to get, I think it was 2 or 3, maybe even 4 other assignings after that we
Yep.
just happened to connect with. And then we just automatically, we hit it off, and the rest is really kind of history. I know I shared that in an email too, but this just speaks to the importance of honoring every single appointment you're on, because you never know who you're going to meet.
Mm-hmm.
You might meet somebody amazing like Nina, who takes your business to the next level, who teaches you things about this loan product that you had no idea about, and then of course becomes a great collaborator and helps build an entire training program if you wanted to do that. But one of the things about this business is you never know who you're going to meet at the closing table, especially in reverse mortgages. You know, Nina and I really hit it off, but the clientele is really something special. I know we've got so many people who appreciate that on the call. Yeah. So Nina, shall we just jump in?
Yeah, somebody asked what it takes to be a CRMP. So I saw that come up, even though I'm not supposed to be focusing on the chat.
Yeah, you should probably close that out because we're going to talk about that later, Nina.
Okay, all right, sorry, everyone. We'll talk about that later. Bill's going to keep me on task. All right.
No distractions for Nina. All right, Nina, yeah, close that chat window and let's do this.
I think it's closed. I can't, I only see the orange box, whatever color that is. All right, so what is a reverse mortgage? So there's been a lot of different ways that people describe it, but I think the simplest form is that to say to you, it's just an FHA loan that you're not obligated to make payments on. You can if you want, but you're not obligated to make a payment back on it until you sell the home or the last person on title passes. You can make payments to it, but you are obligated to make your taxes and your insurance payments and keep them current and in good standing, along with HOA. But other than that, a reverse mortgage is simply a loan. It is an FHA loan, and it has mortgage insurance, just like a traditional FHA loan, and just like a VA loan that has a funding fee. Okay? Excellent. That's all it is.
Super simple.
Okay. Yep, super simple. Can't do it any easier than that. So, why do people get them? So I want to give a little history on this because this is pretty important. If you watch TV and you've seen Tom Selleck or Fonzie or Robert Wagner, depending on our age brackets, these were people that did commercials for AAG. And they kind of gave the impression that, if you have a house, if your house rich, if you own a free and clear and you're broke, this is a product for you. And that does such a disservice to our product that recently, if you've noticed, there's a new Tom Selleck commercial that's a lot more, I guess, summarizes the product a lot better than the old one. This is not a loan of last resort by any means. If you're bleeding, a reverse mortgage is not, it's not even a Band-Aid, because chances are you won't be able to get it. This is a powerful retirement tool. And as we go into it, you'll see it. And when you go through the classes and everything, it really spells it out. But a lot of people get them to supplement income, to create an additional funding bucket for retirement years. If maybe they didn't have time to, or the funds to get long-term care, but they have equity in their home, they can set up for that. They can set up for, you know, a college fund or for whatever reasons they would like. There's a billion reasons why, and normally very few of them are that they're broke or they're poor. Who it helps advise on getting a reverse mortgage? You know, we find right now that retirement folks who financial advisors, financial planners, sorry, never considered really housing wealth as a part of retirement money. And that people were really becoming in and looking at that and saying, how can that be? This is some people's greatest asset. When turned into a cash form, that can be a whole new bucket for people to retire and tap into. And so a lot of financial advisors are now looking at reverse mortgages. As a matter of fact, on Friday, I had a 2-hour Zoom appointment with a financial advisor who had this financial tool on his program. And he's like, hey, I want to show you this. And I felt like saying, buddy, this has been around. Where have you been? But I didn't. And I said, yes, absolutely. He's like, this is amazing. I love this. I said, it is amazing. It is powerful. And it's getting so much traction. So financial advisors are way much on board. CPAs are really now getting on the reverse mortgage bandwagon. And a lot of kids are saying to their folks, hey, you know what, please, if look at this as an option. So a lot of people help advise that maybe a few years ago we didn't have these people chiming in, but the product is gaining a lot of publicity for its great features.
Yeah, it really is, especially right now. Can we talk a little bit too, because maybe it's just the timing of everything, but it sounds like real estate agents are really advising on these as well for purchases, right?
Oh yeah, reverse for purchase. So a reverse for purchase, you know, they say you teach somebody how to fish or you give somebody a fish and whatever that saying is. So when I was working up in Prescott, I did a presentation on reverse for purchase. And the agent, there was one agent in there, and after the thing, she said, this was so amazing. She's like, you need to be here all the time. I'm going to need you in here all the time. And I'm thinking, I've heard that so many times, lady, you have no idea. You have no idea how many times I've heard it, but people don't do anything about it. Well, she called me up and she said, I want to learn more about this. Spend time with me. And so I'd go visit her and we would talk about it and how it works and this and that and good case scenarios for her. And she became my biggest advocate. If anybody has ever read the book, The Purple Cow, she is to this day my purple cow.
Ah, fantastic. Great to hear.
Yep.
Excellent. So what's that?
Real estate agents are bringing it up.
Yeah. Great. And I love that Nina actually travels to other states that she's licensed in and actually presents to real estate agents, to financial planners, to teach them the power of this loan product.
Absolutely.
So how do they work, Nina?
So a reverse mortgage, let's take it on a very basic level. With a reverse mortgage, let's say you own your home free and clear. Okay. Let's say I own a house and it's worth $200,000. I'm just going to give very round kind of basic numbers. So let's say I own my home, I'm 62 and it's worth $200,000. We're not talking about where it is, okay? So it's just for giggles, let's just say the house is worth $200,000. So I take out a reverse mortgage. I call up a loan officer or another CRMSP and I say, hey, I want to, look at my numbers for a reverse. And they send me a proposal. And I say, okay, this looks good. This looks good. And I call up and I set up a counseling appointment to make sure that my loan officer did a good job in explaining it to me. And they come and do an appraisal, and the appraisal does come in at $200,000. Okay, so I will basically have an option to set up a line of credit or have access to $100,000. Normally we use 50%. It's a good gauge. It's close enough. So that $100,000, that's my money. Let's say if I need $15,000, I can take it at closing, or it gives you a percentage of it, 60% at closing, and the remaining balance after 12 months. Okay, and what happens is that whatever money you borrow, if you have $100,000 you can tap into, right? Let's say I borrowed $10,000. And that's all I have. The interest is going to accrue only on that $10,000. Okay, it's just going to sit there and accrue until the time that I make a payment on it, or until I sell the home. All right. So that is how a traditional reverse mortgage works. Let's say I want to buy a house. Okay, I see a house and it's $200,000. And I call my agent. I say, hey, listen, I'm going to use a reverse mortgage. So $200,000 house, same way, right? $100,000. My loan is going to be $100,000, and I'm going to make a one-time contribution to the house of $100,000, right? So I bring in $100,000. My loan is $100,000, right? Simple. Okay. The interest accrues on my loan amount, which is $100,000, until I sell a home or I pass. I can make payments to the loan anytime I want. Sometimes people say, well, I want to save it. I don't want to have all that interest running, or I need a write-off. So you can pay into your reverse mortgage if you want. That's no problem. Get your interest deduction. That's great. Or you can pay into a reverse mortgage and have it sit into a line of credit so that you can tap into it again later. But we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, and that's where the real power of this comes. But I love that you're sharing so much about how these reverse mortgages work, because this really taps into some of the common misconceptions, right?
Yes. And you always remember, a reverse mortgage is just a loan. It is a loan, but the interest is going to be sitting in a piggy bank, okay, until the time that you sell your house, or until the time that you pass. Okay, at that time, the bank is going to get their money, and they're going to be happy. Misconceptions. Yeah. So do we have a few minutes, Bill, that I can actually go back in history and tell a little bit about why these misconceptions?
I think that's important for us for those of you who are on the call, that you want to feel proud about the work that you do. I think it's important that we understand the misconceptions. So please, by all means, do. Okay.
So the original reverse mortgage was done on the East Coast. I want to say it was Maine or Vermont, someplace in the late 60s. Okay, so there's a woman who had kids and a husband. The husband, the house was paid off. They had kids. I don't remember how old they were, but maybe they were younger. And the husband passed, had no life insurance, and she was a mom, a stay-at-home mom, which was very common during those days. And she went to the bank and she said to her bank man, hey, what can you do for me? I got a house. It's free and clear. I have no money. He didn't, my husband didn't have a life insurance policy. He didn't have any savings. What am I going to do? I got kids I got to feed. And the bank, and she was an older lady, and the bank said, oh, well, you know what? Why don't we come up with a loan? We can do a loan for you. We're going to go on title with you, and it's going to be a loan. And when you pass, we'll collect our money then. And she needs money. And she was like, okay, that's fine with me, right? So she does this loan, and she lives a long time, and she passes. And when she passes, the bank went on title with her. So the bank owns the home. And she was upside down because the interest rates were high, and there was really no formal calculations to how this loan was going to go. So she ended up owing money. So guess what? They went after the heirs, and they said to the kids, your mom died, and now you owe us so much money. And, of course, the kids would freak out, right? I would if that happened to me. And then let's say if there was equity left, then because the bank owns the home with you, then guess what? If you had $50,000 positive if you sold the house and after the loan was paid off, there was $50,000 remaining. Guess what? The bank took an additional 50%. So they were sharing the equity, okay, shared equity. Made the loan totally, really unfriendly to people. And in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan kind of looked at the program when he was, looking at FHA and HUD, and he sent the loan actually over to HUD and said, you know what, here's this program, do something with it. Help out our seniors, do something with it. And so they did. They made it into an FHA loan. So what they did was, just like on an FHA loan, that's mortgage insurance. And now that mortgage insurance, guess what? It protects the borrowers and it protects the lenders. It's no longer a shared equity, but people still believe it is. There's no bill going to the heirs, because guess what? The mortgage insurance is going to cover it if it's upside down. But we still struggle to educate people that these are now misconceptions, that this is strictly just a loan. And if there's a shortfall, or if you owe more than the home is worth, the mortgage insurance kicks in and covers the lender. So the lender gets their money and they don't go after the heirs anymore. So that's kind of how it works. So since the 80s now, this product has been like so great, and yet it's still getting such a bad rap.
Yeah.
And I still hear it, shared equity. They're going to take the house. First of all, you know what? No bank in the world wants real estate. We learned that when the market crashed in 2007, 8, 9. No bank wants property. They don't want reverse mortgages either.
Hmm.
That's
a good point. They just
Yep.
want the cash.
They just want the cash. And you know what? With the mortgage insurance now, they get that difference. So let's say, I'm going to give you the example of me, okay? Let's say I have my house, and the bank gave my loan was $100,000. So let's say I live a long time, I owe $160, right? And I pass, and guess what? The housing market goes down. My house is worth $100,000, right? Okay, we know what would happen in the old days, but now what happens is that my kids have choices. My kids can say, you know what, we want that house, and they can kind of refinance it for 95% of the appraised value, which is pretty good, because if that house is valued at $100,000, right, the bank gets their money from that mortgage insurance. They fill that gap, and my kids will get that house for 95 grand. And I would have gotten to live there and had that money all my entire life.
Yeah.
That's about the mortgage insurance. So we still struggle with the same misconceptions, that the bank owns the home, going to take the house, going to throw mom out. It's not going to happen. So
Right.
Once again, one of the misconceptions is that the house is the reverse mortgages for the house rich and cash poor, which I can honestly tell you that there are people, most of my clients have over 6 figures in retirement accounts, are well off, but just want an additional bucket. With everything you see going on today and all this scrambling and people losing their jobs, and this is and looking at their retirement accounts, they don't want to go into the retirement account, because you know what, if you've looked at your 401k, you know what that's looking like, right? So if you take $100, it's going to cost you $300.
Right.
So it's very important. So it's an additional bucket. Okay, so once again, misconceptions is that it's for house rich, cash poor. Seldomly. The bank goes untitled, takes the home. Not true. The kids end up with nothing. Not true. My kids end up owing a balance. Not true. Right?
I love that. And can we just talk about a couple more misconceptions here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Rhonda asked a great question. She's heard
Okay.
that there's some lenders that require that grass not be more than a certain height or it's in default. How specific do those maintenance requirements get from your perspective?
I have never heard that.
It's really just to keep it out of condemnation, right?
Yes.
The house cannot get condemned. Otherwise, everybody loses their investment.
Correct. listen, some of us are bad landscapers, right? But honestly, how would the lender know? I mean, really, how would a lender know?
Yeah. It's not like they've got yard police going out, right?
Yeah, we don't have your police,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So let me see.
Now, if you don't pay your HOA, right? If you don't pay your homeowner's insurance and they file a lawsuit against you for whatever reasons, because you know HOAs love to do that, then yeah, the lender's going to find out.
Yeah.
All right, but the bank doesn't have the guidelines of how tall the grass is. Trust you me, not at all.
And to reiterate, there is mortgage insurance on the reverse mortgage. That's part of the FHA programming, part of the safeguards to keep everybody on a level, keep it win-win for everybody. So it is there. But Carlton has a follow-up question to that. He says, well, if a senior's in a position where they need to take a reverse mortgage, are they then in a position to afford to make the PMI payment? So let's talk about that. PMI, the private mortgage insurance, is there a payment for PMI?
Okay, so yes. Okay. So I'm going to explain to you the differences because this is, you know, one thing that people talk about on the negatives of a reverse mortgage is everyone says it. Ready? It's very expensive. All the fees, right? I mean, it's really, I hear it all the time. It's just like nails on a chalkboard. Okay. So I'm going to explain to you the fees on the reverse mortgage. Okay. Now, FHA, when you buy an FHA home, right? And maybe all of us have one. I have one. The upfront mortgage insurance is 1.75 and the monthly premium is 0.85 a month. Okay. Now, on a VA loan, if you've done more than one VA loan, your funding fee upfront is 3.6%. A reverse mortgage is 2% upfront and 0.5 on a monthly. Now, that's how I'm going to take out a reverse mortgage, okay? And I say, oh, I want to pay my own PMI. I mean, I can come in and bring money to close to pay some of that mortgage insurance if I want. Okay, you can do that. You can make a payment and say, this is how I want it applied. You can definitely do that. You can also decide that if you borrow, you know, $10,000 that you want to start paying back that $10,000, you can absolutely do that. This is simply a loan.
Yeah, lots of different options there. And I think this is probably perfect blend. We're going to talk about some of the consumer safeguards that help make this all possible, right?
Yes, we are. If you don't mind, can I throw in one more thing on this that I think is very, very important
Yeah, totally.
of why this product is so good? Okay, so back in the day, what people did was they took out, let's say if I had a mortgage, I took a second, right? One of those HELOCs, right? So let's say that was my safety net. Okay. So let's say I take out this HELOC, that's my rainy day money. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna make payments on it, but it's gonna be interest only. Right now, because no bank wants any risk, they're cutting them. And you know what? Or they're closing them out. So there goes your safety net. I've heard that some banks are already doing it, and some lenders have already stopped doing home equity loans. And you know what? For seniors, this is like their safety net. It happened in 2006, and it's happening now. But right now, we call it Corona overlays. So when Corona goes away, they say these overlays will, but we'll see.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about some of the consumer safeguards that are in place
Okay.
to help protect people.
Yeah, let's do that. So there's with reverse mortgages, there's no bait and switch. There's really, it has a lot of very tight guidelines. So let's say I go and I meet with Bill, right? I explain to Bill about the loan program. Bill says, okay, yeah, I want to move forward with it. Sounds like it's perfect for me. I give him a list of counseling agencies that he can call anyone and make an appointment. And that's the first safeguard. He's going to do a counseling with somebody that I do not recommend. He's going to get a list of probably 30 or 40 that he can call anyone and set one up. They're going to go over the guidelines with him. They're going to go over the fact that, you know what, there's mortgage insurance, that you have to pay taxes and insurance, that if you let it lapse, you could be at risk of losing the home. And you know what? This is to safeguard Bill that I did my job right.
Right.
And, maybe a hint of that he's cognizant.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is
we want to make
super
sure that
important.
Bill's aware of what he's doing, that he's been educated properly, which is a huge thing because there's a lot of loan officers out there today that are not doing that fairly. And they did not do it fairly 10 years ago, and why we've run into issues with it. So that is a safeguard. The next safeguard is that we get a lot of disclosures. So when we do the application, it's very thick.
Yeah. You guys have probably seen some of those 200 or 300 pages.
Oh yeah. Yep. And most of them need signatures. So there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of disclosures on them. There's a lot of disclosures. And after we sit with them and we disclose them, and then guess what? The bank sends another set of disclosures. So it's constantly, getting in touch with them, letting them see the numbers, letting them see that everything's been very consistent. So if anything, the numbers go down, not up. You are not allowed to increase. The fact that I'm not making any money on the loan is not a valid change of circumstance. And they also get, after they sign their final loan application, they get a 3-day right of rescission, just like a traditional refinance. And those are the safeguards, pretty much.
Yeah, great. And we've even got a few more that we've had inside the training program as well to dive in there. I thought that was really important that we include that though, because like I was saying, it's so important to feel good about what you're doing. You've got to have that confidence. We're here to be of service. We want to make sure that we continue to do that. So knowing those consumer safeguards, knowing that people have what they've gone through to get to the closing table is extremely important.
They, by the time they get to the closing tables, there should be, unlike a traditional loan, there should be very little uncertainty about what they're getting and what the fees are. Very little uncertainty because they've seen it, and it really has not changed much. The only reason why it would change drastically is if the appraisal value came in lower or came in higher. That would change the numbers.
Yeah, or that, well, we won't even bring it up. She who will not be spoken, Lisa.
Beth is not on this call, is she?
Yeah, I don't think Beth's on the call. Okay, so let's talk about the different loan products that a loan outstanding agent might come across.
Sure, and I left some off on this one too, Bill. Which with me?
You what?
I left some off.
This is just an overview, so that's okay.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. So the traditional refinance into a reverse mortgage. We also have a HECM, or reverse to a reverse. So let's say, I took out reverse 5 years ago, my home value increased a lot, and I can get more money. Guess what? I can do a HECM to HECM refinance. Also, a refinance, a purchase transaction. I am doing a lot of them. People come in, find a house that they like. They have $300,000 cash and think they're going to buy a house cash and say, oh, wait, I only have to come in with really 50% and I can keep the other 150 in my pocket. Well, right now, Rona's making this world crazy. That's a good choice for me. We also have jumbo products that go up to $4 million.
Nice.
Yep.
That's huge and definitely needed. And I thought this was so important, guys. The HECM for purchase, or the reverse for purchase, is so important.
Yep.
Because there's so many real estate agents that don't even know that that's a possibility. So you can really be a hero to a transaction just knowing how these things work. Now, quick question. I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that about three years ago, maybe two and a half, 3 years ago, I thought, you know what? I needed like a referral source. I need to make sure that for my business, what my business was lacking something. I couldn't figure out what it was. It was purchase. It was my most dreadful client, a real estate agent. And I had to go out and find real estate agents, but I really had a product that they didn't know about, that they saw beneficial. So all of a sudden I became a value. And you know what? I got clients now, everybody they meet that's 62 or older, they go into like, well, you know, if you were like, you know, 62, you could consider reverse mortgage. So they're, well, we're 68. And like, oh, better yet. So, you know what? This product, yes, real estate agents, you know, seldomly they know about it.
This is just a great example of how you bring value into relationships. The fastest way to get your foot in the door with somebody is to give them a deal.
Yep.
You know, if you can save a deal because somebody's getting disqualified for one reason or another, or they just are stressing out because they can't afford their mortgage payment, or it put just too much pressure on in their retirement years. If you had this as an offer in your networking or just in casual conversations, this is what's going to get your foot in the door with people.
Yep. And it will. And when we talk about like the real estate agents and working that level, that, you know, it takes one real estate agent, one, to value you, and they will tell everyone, and they will be calling you and saying, you know what, you need a reverse mortgage. And you know, we work so hard. A real estate agent will tell you they work so hard that come the last thing, they need that cherry on the sundae.
Yeah.
And that is the signing agent. And I will tell you that is either the way that you take your masterpiece and you hang it up and you're so proud of it, but that finished stroke, in my eyes, is the notary.
I love the way you put that, the masterpiece.
Thank you. The masterpiece.
Yeah, exactly.
My Van Gogh. And let me tell you something. All 250 of you who are on this call, sometimes getting a loan done is a masterpiece.
That is so true. So true.
It is.
Yep.
So yeah, that's that.
So let's talk a little bit about that follow-up. Kay asked a great question. Does the real estate agent refer you to the loan signing company or the lender so you can get the signing? I think I'll jump in there. That is it very well could be, you know, a real estate agent that's performing, meaning they're a high performer, they're giving lots of business to a title company, can pretty much tell that title company whoever they want to work for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there might be some hoops to jump through. You might have to apply at the title company. You might have to get approved. You might have to work with a certain signing company and get registered or approved. But yes, a real estate agent can absolutely request you for a.
Sure can. And you know what I also do as well. I try and make sure that I get anyone I can that knows the product out there, because once again, this is my masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. And then Annette, we're not going to go over the Heck 'em for purchase again, but this will be a replay, so I'll send out the link later on tonight. Why are the application signing fees offered at $65 if they're so detailed? Oh, we'll get to that here in a second, Lori.
What was that? $65?
That's the pay that signing companies are paying. Okay, so let's talk about those top 5 things signers should be aware of, Nina, if you're going to take these on.
Aware of some things. Okay, number 1. 2 deeds and 2 deeds of trust. So if you see 2 in there, all right, don't panic. Don't panic. There are 2 deeds of trust and usually sometimes 2 notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is really common and it confuses a lot of loan signing agents.
Don't get confused. Do not get confused. It is normal and standard. If you just decide it's a copy and toss it, guess what? Someone's going back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a general rule of thumb, guys, if the paperwork's included in a package, have them sign it. Our job is not to think it through and think, I don't think this goes here. You know, that we don't want to take that on. We just want to make sure we sign this. And then, and if you know there's going to be 2 notes and 2 reverse mortgages ahead of time, it will help you help the flow of your signing for sure.
Yep. And you know, and another thing too, just to say on that is that you will also find mixed in the package, it's very common that you might find a purchase disclosure in there. You know, it says buyer, seller. You know what? Just move on. Don't, you know, they get mixed in there all the time. I notice them.
Yeah. There's one thing about reverse mortgages I've really noticed is talk about boilerplate template. They're using the same template for every loan package. So sometimes there'll be purchase documents in a refinance But we can't be the ones to determine which gets pulled and which gets not. So it's best to just structure the conversation so everything gets signed.
Yep. And I can tell you that because I do reverse signings, of course, not my own, but when I'm asked, sometimes I'll jump in to help somebody out. That, you just kind of tell a client, oh, well, this is for a purchase. I know you're not purchasing it. Can you just humor me and just sign it just in case? They usually have no problem with it.
Yeah,
those people just so happy in 3 days they can get their money, right? They'll be like, okay, I'll just sign it.
All right. All right, let's talk about number 2.
So I'm going to take it that most of you have done an FHA loan or VA loan, right? Okay. So everyone knows that there's a form, a 92-900A. And if everyone doesn't really know what document that is the HUD application addendum. And on page 2 is the one where it has a signature in the middle of the page and one at the bottom of the page. So, that's in the training course, and we really talk about that because it's very common to miss that on a traditional loan and on a reverse. But it is the 92-900A with 2 signatures on one page. And the problem is they try to make it a lot of stuff on one page, and it's very small.
It's typical government document, government paperwork. This is the addendum to the Uniform Residential Loan Application. If you've done FHA, VA, you've seen this, and it's the one with the tricky signatures with 2 on page 2. Sometimes tricky enough to have an initial on page 1 too. So you really got to look out for that.
Really? Really?
Yeah, it's really sneaky.
I wonder if I ever missed that one. That'd be bad, huh? Okay, so number 3, can I move on to number 3 now? I just learned something about that one. Okay, so deposit of proceeds of authorization. Okay, here we go. When people get a reverse mortgage, this not so much not on a purchase, okay, but on a refinance when people are going to get money. They can get their money any way they want, okay? So there's two documents, right? There's one that goes with title, and the one that goes with title is for this moment, for your initial disbursement, right? How you want this money initially dispersed. Okay, so there it says, okay, fill it out. So you're going to write, B of A, checking account, da-da-da, da-da-da, and then you're going to sign it. Okay, that's for this initial disbursement at closing. Then in the lender package, there's a deposit of proceeds authorization. That requires the same thing. But what you do is you void that check and you stamp it, and you staple it or paper clip it on. But then there's a page 2 to that. And that page 2 is your notarization. You need to notarize that page 2.
Guess why we're telling you that, guys? Guess what gets missed all the time?
That one.
The second one.
Second one. And if the second one is not done and notarized, guess what? Title will probably just mail them out a check. And then the people are going to call up and say, why didn't I get, I already spent all my money, Nina. I got to wait a day, and you'd be surprised. People don't like that. But yes, and it's very common. So, we like to remind people that, just be on the lookout, that there's, one disclosure for title, one disclosure for the lender. And the one for the lender requires your notary stamp. That's good.
Awesome. Let's talk about number 4. What's going on here?
Primary residence. So this is a new form that they started putting in. So as you know, a reverse mortgage has to be your primary residence. Okay. So you have to sign an affidavit at closing saying, yes, this is my primary home. Reverse mortgages have to be a primary home until you sell a house or you pass. It's not like an FHA loan or a VA loan. You can take it out, stay there for a year, and then rent it out and move. not a reverse mortgage. You need to have that as your primary as long as you have this loan. Okay, so you're going to be signing a form saying, yes, this is my primary residence and I live here. Okay, and that's going to tie right into the new occupancy disclosures, because we do have some new ones that just slid in there, just saying, do you live in this house by yourself, or do you live with somebody like a significant other? Now they start finding out, if you have a boyfriend, right? Because I got Bill living with me, and Bill and I are pretty hooked up, but the problem is that I don't want to get married again. Bill doesn't want to marry me. I don't want to marry Bill. We got a good thing going. We're not going to mess it up. Right. So Bill and I decide, okay, we're going to live together. You know what, Bill, I don't want Bill on my loan because I want the opportunity to throw him out whenever I want. Sorry, Bill.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I want the option to throw Bill out when I want. Okay. So the problem with that is, let's say Bill and I have a great relationship. We're 10 years in, and I tell Bill, this is our home now. And next day I die. Poor Bill. Do you see this? I wrote, poor Bill.
Yes, I have empathy.
Poor Nina. Okay, so let's say I tell Bill 10 years later, Bill, I love you so much. Bill, you know what? You're in the world to me. And let's say Bill has something, and Bill's, has bad health, right? And he's not doing so great, but I go first, right? Bill's not on the loan anywhere. And guess what? He's got to go because I died. He's not on the loan. He's not on title. So he's got to go. He's got to scoot. So you know what? Now they ask, hey, is anybody else living in the house with you? And so these are new documents. If I was smart, even though whatever happened, I should have put Bill on the loan. Or Bill should have made an honest woman out of me and insisted that we get married.
Should have married, yeah. All right.
You should have married me when you had the chance.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about how you would go to get more business as a loan signing agent. So
we always looked at ways to get more business. I can tell you that from personal experience that there's a lot of people that don't want to do reverse mortgages. Clearly, they just don't want to do them. They take too long. I just don't want to do them. Yeah, they pay a little bit more, but I just don't want to do them. And then there's other people that love the population, that find this to be a niche, that know that, seniors are cool people and they want to do it. So now here's the thing, is that you can go to title companies and say, hey, I do reverse mortgages. I love them. Do you ever get them? And they'll be like, oh yeah. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, for sure. And you can have them. That is all about your relationship with people. You can go to financial advisors. You can go to people who do trusts and all of that. You know what? There's a lot of ways when you do your reverse mortgages that you're going to realize that there's a lot of places where you can go to get business. All that are among reverse mortgages, real estate agents. You can build a whole relationship with a real estate agent by giving them this nugget of a reverse mortgage, and then be like, oh yeah, I'll help you with, I'll tell you a little bit what I know about it. Maybe you can give me the opportunity to do the signing for you, or maybe you can hook me up with your title people.
Yeah.
And
a shared passion for this demographic and this business goes a long way, because usually, there's exceptions to everything, right? Some people are in it for the wrong reasons, but there's a lot of people on reverse mortgages that are in it for the right reason. They're there because they love working with seniors and they love working with other people who work with seniors.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit though about realistically some of the concerns, like how much time does a typical loan signing take, and how does that fit into the business?
So a lot of people don't like doing the reverse. Title people don't like doing because it takes it takes longer. So I like to I like to look at my paperwork, so I know, I like to look at it ahead of time. Even when I do a signing today, I still do the same thing. I look over it to understand the flow, right? Look at them, so I kind of see the documents. I can do it in an hour and a half and have a joke and maybe a cookie. um, but a lot of it too is how much you open yourself up to the seniors. You can open yourself up and they can tell you stories, and you can make a friend and spend 2 hours there, but it's a matter of how much you know the paperwork. If you do them after a while and you know the paperwork, you know what, I can knock one out in an hour.
Yeah.
You gotta look at the paperwork and spend some time up front. The numbers, they should know. They should know the numbers. So that should be a quick overview, and it's just going through the disclosures.
Which there is going to be a lot of, but these are not going to be your rush signings by any means.
Nope.
It does take a lot of compassion, some understanding, and a willingness to talk to sometimes a demographic that you might be the first person that has been in their home in weeks. So they might want to
Corona.
a little bit more. They might want to bake some cookies, which is really one of my favorite parts. Let's real quick too.
No, Ron.
Yeah, guys. So let's talk about Ron real quick, because I know everybody's chatting about it. It's interesting about remote on. What's that?
Who is Ron?
Who is this Ron guy? Remote online notarization is your candidate. Well, senior citizens getting reverse mortgages are probably at the bottom of the list for candidates for remote online notarization. There will always be some that are perfectly fine and able to do it, but I don't even know of a lender that's willing to do it yet because of the size of the packages, all the disclosures, the appraisal has to come through, and the technology is just not quite there yet. The consumers haven't quite bought into Ron yet. I know coronavirus has changed that a little bit, but for the most part, they haven't really bought in yet. So it's going to take some time on that for reverse mortgages, at least.
In my personal opinion, I don't think it's ever going to take off, and I'll tell you why. And this is just totally my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think we talked about this the other day too, is that maybe when people, my father's generation have died off. It sounds bad, but all right. But when my father's generation passes, they're the ones from 70 to 90. Okay. When they die, maybe then they'll go to Ron. But this demographic, the baby boomers, not going to happen, because some of them don't even get emails, and some of them don't even know how to use an email. They want paper, and they want you there.
Yeah, they like the personal connection.
Yep, they like the handshake.
I do too. I'm the same way. That's why I'm in this business. I love people.
And you know what? If you're in this business because you love people, you love that aspect of it, then it's great. But I don't think on this we're going to be going wrong.
Yeah, totally agree.
But the product's going to keep on growing, and then you're going to get the people that say, I don't want to do reverse mortgages. And then, you know what, we're going to have all these people, Yeah. And I think it's very important to realize that this demographic probably will not this product will not take on to Ron.
Totally agree. So let's summarize real quick how to get more business. It's all about relationships, just like in your regular loan signing business. However, you've got a little bit of an edge because you bring passion into this industry. And like I said, some of the people who are in it for all the right reasons. They love people who are in it with them, and they have as much passion for the product and the demographic as they do. The other huge factor that I'm so proud of to be working on with Nina is having an additional certification that just demonstrates your commitment to this industry and to this demographic. And that's the Certified Reverse Mortgage Signing Professional program that we started with Nina. We started it about a year ago. a little over a year ago.
He's just kicking around, right? Which Bill, just to tell a little story about it, do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
When I met Bill at a signing, he was like, "Hey, would you come on and be like a guest speaker?" And I was like, "Sure," And so it's kind of planned out. Bill was like, "This is what we'll talk about," because I mean, I knew Bill a little bit from the signings. He got to see me in action, but he had no idea what I would be like on a call. And for Bill, it was a chance to bring me on. And I'd never done anything like that. And then we did, but we had a really good response because we were talking about reverse mortgages, forward mortgages, because I've done it all, right?
Yeah.
So we did this whole thing, and we had fun doing it. People really appreciated it. And then we thought, well, why don't we just do a couple of videos on it? And then we did that. And then more and more people were like, I really want to learn this.
Exactly. And what really struck us is that after we were talking to some connections that Nina has on the title side, and we talked about just some of the nightmare stories that we've heard about notaries in the reverse mortgage arena, guys. And this is the real value. This is why it's so important to embrace the fact that this work matters. And that's why I love having you on this call right now, because you know that what you do makes a difference in people's lives at that closing table. But what we heard was notaries talking people out of reverse mortgages because they were still planted back in the 80s, or they were scaring them. They saw 2 notes, 2 deeds, and they were telling people that they were fishy, or just not understanding the process and getting frustrated at the amount of time. And not everybody has the heart to do this level of work, so it can be really frustrating. But what we decided, what's that?
I wanted to tell my story about the notaries.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I told it.
Yeah, sure.
Can I? I interrupted you though, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what, Nina, let me get through this. We're gonna get through this, and then we'll share your story to kick off the Q&A.
Okay.
So here's what we designed, guys. We designed a certified reverse mortgage signing professional program. And it is hands down the most intense training program there is. It's been around for a year. We've tested it. We have hundreds of people that have tested it and gone through the modules. There's well over 100 modules now that walk through the details. And what we really focused on was the mindset of the signer, the borrower that's at the closing table, what the whole process is. So you can maybe empathize with them a little bit, knowing that they've been sitting waiting for this loan signing appointment, sometimes for up to 3 months, sometimes a little longer on weird transactions. So it's very important to get all of that information. Then we go into the documents. We go into the application process. We go through the closing process too. There's application signings, there's closing signings, there's everything in between, the actual different loan products, all the jumbo products, everything. I mean, I think we're up to 110 or so modules in there. So that's what this program is. We really wanted something that was going to be amazing. So here's what we got for you today. So we got the intensive training program with over 100 modules. Nina and I both, every Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, we do a continuing education call. And that's where Nina just comes on and shares the updates. Now, I've been in businesses of all kinds for a long time, but I cannot believe how much things change on the reverse mortgage front. It's like every week we've got some new letter that's come out, or some new change, or an add-on, or a takeaway, or whatever it is. So this is a very dynamic industry. So we keep you in touch. So every Thursday, except for the last Thursday of the month, we have a training call with Nina and I. You get access to the certification exam, guys. It's 100 questions. And I'm not a big fan of certifications because a lot of them are kind of fluffy and they don't really do any good. We designed this certification exam to be hard. We want you to understand the product inside and out, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to change the industry. We're trying to develop a niche. We're trying to develop a level of service that really serves this industry. And so it's so important that you can't just skip through a test and answer C on every question and then pass. So you really got to know your stuff here. It's strict rules around the test, and you have to get a 90% or better. Then once you do pass that test, you get the Certified Reverse Mortgage Signing Professional Designation, the CRMSP. The certificate does get included. You'll get that emailed to you. The free premium profile on reversenotary.com. So guys, this is what Nina and I are working on in the background. So we created this whole database. You can you have put your picture, your profile, everything. It's kind of like a signingagent.com, but it's strictly for reverse. So once you pass the test and you are certified, you get this full profile. It's a premium profile. We're never going to charge you for the profile on that. It's yours for life on the certification. Because that's one thing we took away. We were thinking about doing an annual certification. What we decided to do is just a one-time certification. So it's just one time, and then we offer the continuing education so you guys get the opportunity to take on the responsibility yourself to keep yourself dialed into this community. So it's a one-time cost, guys, of just $97, and you can get your, if you want to take the training course or start this, it's at notarycoach.com/CRMSP. And of course, I will send this out in the email afterwards. I've posted it into the chat. So you're free to jump in there and grab that right now if you would like. Thank you so much. Now, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this part. I want to jump into the Q&A session now.
I want to say one thing though, Bill.
Yeah.
We not only, on our Thursday calls, right? We also cover like the State of the Union, right? I mean, we talk about forward loans and anything, because I'm pretty well knowledgeable. So, you know, a lot of times we'll talk about, you know, traditional loans and things of that nature. We talk about everything.
Yeah, that's what I love about that. If you just really want to get dialed in, it's almost like having behind the scenes conversation, because Nina does both forward and reverse loans. I'm there. We're available for full on Q&A for a good 30, although our last call went like an hour and 5 minutes. So that's what it's there for.
But we're committed to it. And I think that's what it says, that we're really committed to that.
It does. We're committed to you guys. We're committed to the industry.
Yep.
So,
can I tell my story? Can I tell my story quick, Bill?
Okay, so Nina's going to kick off and tell a story, and then we're going to open up to Q&A. So we're right at the 1 hour mark. Thank you guys so much for staying on. We will send out the recording, but right now the time is yours. We're doing Q&A.
I want to tell my story though, because this is so great. I'm going to tell them really quick so we can get to Q&A, because I know we're over the time, but these two stories are too classic. Okay, so I had a loan signing in California, right? One of my clients, great people, very, very warm, very friendly, very sweet people. And so I'm still friends with them to this day. So go to the house, notary comes in late. She's okay. She's a little shuffled, you know, she's a little, you know, whatever. And halfway through it, she starts talking to my client and saying that she lives out of her car. I'm sitting there like, you gotta be kidding me. So my clients are sweet people. And they're like, oh, that's so horrible. And I'm just sitting there like, you need to sign and get the hell out of here. It was bad. I called up the title people and I said, listen, you cannot send somebody to my clients saying to them, hey, I'm homeless. It was just bad. So that was one. The second one, it's very well-off clients. Very well off. And the signer came. She was late, but she did call, and that was fine, because, you know, we all run late, and it's all good. She came, and she probably had 3 teeth in her mouth. Yeah, 3. I maybe it could have been a few more, but not in the front.
Yeah, well, I think this really highlights, and you know, I was lucky enough to get a chance to talk about this in the book too, because it's all our responsibility to take care of ourselves. I mean, we all have our own issues, our own concerns, our own insecurities, our own health issues, or whatever it is, but we've got to own them and remember that we're professionals in this. And what this really highlights, guys, is just that the notaries before you have let the industry down. This is our time to rise up and shine by taking additional certifications, by just dialing in on calls like this, knowing that you care, taking some sort of skill set and emotional intelligence, like raise the level there so we can interact with other people, know how we show up, know what the emotional wake is behind us. That's the real value of all this.
It became to the point of when I had a signing in California or any place, I made sure I was there.
Yeah.
I did. I made sure I was there because I was scared to death. But you know what? I have to tell you that anytime since I've been working with Bill, and anytime I have a signing, I make sure that one of our people get it, and I've never heard a bad thing that they were, you know, a pig, or they showed up in flip-flops, or I never had anything. Everyone's been professional, and you know what? That's why I keep on coming back, because you guys are the best.
Well, thank you. And let me know if anybody shows up to a loan signing that went through my program in flip-flops. We're going to have words. All right. So let's open it up to questions here. Mary Ellen, I see your hand up. Thank you so much for your patience. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, good evening, and thank you so much. It's just awesome. Is there any way from a marketing standpoint that I can get an idea in my area? Because of course, face-to-face, local. I work a lot with seniors in Florida on specific notary documents. Reverse mortgages is definitely a challenge I think I can take on and succeed with. How can I get a grasp of how many reverse mortgages are actually happening in my area?
Where are you in Florida?
I'm in Central Florida, outside of Orlando, up between the Villages and Orlando, in the rural countryside.
That's a good question. Let's jot that down. I'm gonna have to check and see. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem,
you know,
Mary Ellen. What I'll give you a real general answer just for everybody as well, right? Number one, Florida, you are the mecca for everything retirement. Texas, pretty much too. Arizona and California, most people are retiring from California where their money lasts a little bit longer. But if you're in a retirement capital, you can just count on the fact that reverse mortgages are happening, and they're spiking right now. We're seeing a huge increase in the applications. So I don't know if Nina might find a resource to actually track reverse mortgage closings, but until then, just know that these are happening. It is happening, and it's a great little niche. And if you're already serving senior population, then it can take very little energy to also, whatever you're doing to market and brand and build relationships that way, you can do so with this too. If you're already tapping into financial planners, then this would be a great route. Nina, this would be a great time. We can tell them, like, most of these senior living centers, and you'll learn these on the reverse mortgage training calls, but a lot of times they have networking meetings on site, not right now during coronavirus, of course, but when everything gets back to normal, those are people looking to service the senior community. And a lot of times, even if they're in a short-term or long-term nursing facility, they still own their home for whatever reason. So this could still make perfect sense for them.
And you know what, I will say this, is that I'm going to fill this in because it's important, Bill. Yeah. So the one thing they're saying with reverse mortgages that Corona, or whatever this is, whatever we name it, Rona, Corona, Coad, whatever, 19, whatever. Here's the one thing you can rest assured on. Nobody wants to end up in a nursing home right now. Nobody. People are looking to say, how can I age in place? This is making age in place so on the forefront. How do you get to age in place? Guess what? Get a reverse mortgage, modify your home, or get a reverse mortgage to finance it. It's cheaper than living in, as stats on it, it's cheaper than living in a nursing home, staying home and using the money from a reverse to pay it. I wouldn't want my mother in a nursing home right now.
Yeah, especially right now.
Especially right now.
Ginny Wilkerson, thanks for waiting. You can unmute and ask your question.
Okay, my first question is that this count from Sesame Street. I couldn't tell. It looks like the count, but that's not my real question. She's not paying attention. Okay, so was actually what she said. I didn't understand how she was saying that there was something that she didn't think about with reverse mortgages, and that's purchase. And I didn't understand that because the only way I can understand that is she's saying if you use your equity in your home to buy another property. Is that what she's talking about?
No,
and that
what she's talking about here is if you, and sorry, Nina, I'll jump in and I'll explain it a little bit differently and hopefully.
My Dr. Edelweiss. He is actually from the Muppets. He is an actual Muppet. He is actually from the Muppets. Many years ago, FAO Schwartz did a special promo. You could have your own Muppet made. And I did. His name is Dr. Edelweiss.
I love it. I have 8 puppets. I love it.
Bonding. So if somebody wants to buy a house, Ginny, using a reverse mortgage, they can. All it means is they bring in 50% as their down payment. They put 50% down, and then they have a reverse mortgage on the remaining amount that would be due, and they don't have to make payments on it. That's how that works.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Do you want him to explain it to you?
I think we're good. Okay. Kirsten Bird, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, Bill. Hi, Nina. Thank you for doing this.
Sure.
Hi, Tiffany.
So I'm brand new to this business. I just got my loan signing agent certification on Sunday. So
Congratulations.
my question is, do you recommend the reverse mortgage certification for someone like me who's new, or maybe wait till I have some signings under my belt? I do have experience in real estate and the mortgage business. It's been a few years, but I understand a lot of it, of what you're talking about.
Okay, good. Do you so like the loan documents, that's no, I mean, here's the thing is that we've been doing this now, Bill and I doing this little gig for a long time, a year. We have no plans on not doing it. So I think it's totally up to you. I mean, you know, we answer questions. If you get stuck, I get people calling me all the time. So, you know, if it's all up your comfort level, we're going to be here. We're going to be, right, Bill? We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. So I love your answer. It's totally personal decision. If you're really confident with the material, the language around real estate, the documents, then, you know, jumping into reverse and specializing may not be that big of a deal. However, if you're on this call and maybe you're brand new to this industry and you don't have that, then there's no pressure to get the reverse mortgage training. Now, here's the problem that I've run into is as soon as I say that to people, because I like to be just honest, we're not here just trying to sell something. You know, we've got something of value. We want to raise the bar, and throwing you in too soon does not raise the bar. But what happens is as soon as I say, no, don't worry about it, wait till you get a few signings under your belt, then the first signing you get is a reverse mortgage signing. So that's sometimes how it goes. So you got to be prepared for that, because the reverse mortgages, it does not require an additional certification. So they're not going to stop coming to you or not come to you because you don't have certification. They're going to come at you anyway, because it's just in the normal chain of the way signees get distributed. So you might happen into one. And if that's the case, what's really nice is there's not like you have to be approved or anything. You could jump in and take the training or get the training and have it available to you at any time. We have the new smartphone app that makes accessing this stuff super easy. So if you're on your way to a signing, or if you're waiting for a signing to start, you could jump in and start reviewing some of your modules right then. So totally up to you.
And you know,
Thank you very much.
And you know what? Granted, I'm always around. Anytime somebody gets it, I had somebody this weekend do their first reverse, and they were like, "Can you help me? Like, go through the I mean, I spent an hour on Saturday with somebody just doing their first reverse, help them get, you know, what the documents are and their rhythm down. And then after he left, you know, he called me and wanted to go over them again. And I just think, you know what, it's important, and we're here to support you. So whether you decide yes or no, but if you get stuck with the reverse, don't think that we're not going to be here to help you anyway.
Yep, it's very supportive community here, guys. And
we try.
if you're part of Sign and Thrive, you know you can book document review calls with me or coaching calls as well. So we're here for you. Ken O'Rourke, I saw your name pop up with your hand up. If you still have a question, you can unmute and ask. If not, we'll just move on.
Yes.
Hey.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure can.
Good. My question is, obviously this needs to be the primary residence. Let's say 6 months down the road, there's a health event, you end up in a nursing home, assisted living, and whether you're going to be there for a few months or it turns out you're there, that's where you're going to have to stay. What happens with the loan then?
Okay, so here's how it works. Your reverse mortgage has to be your primary home. Okay, so let's say you go into assisted living, right? Because you have, let's say Bill makes me mad, and I kick his knees out, right? And he's got to go into assisted living for, I don't know, 6 months, right? But he's going to come home, and we know that, right? So when he's in assisted living, that's fine. He can go for 6 months, come home. That's all good. Let's say, he comes home and, I hit him and he falls down, he breaks his hip.
Very violent, Nina.
I'm showing my bad son. And now he's there for, he's there for 8 months. And you know what? That's fine, right? Now, if it's a year, right, and it's no longer their primary residence, the loan will become due. However, let's say you're in assisted living and they say, you just need a little more time in the assisted living before you go back home. If you contact the lender and you say to them, we're here, but we're going to be going back home. This is the plan. That's okay. As long as you're not trying to get away with something, like, hey, dad's in assisted living and he might not be there, so I'm going to go live there. As long as there's no monkey business, it's all good. They're not, if the intention is to go back home, it's just taking a little bit longer, that's fine.
That's really important, guys. There's not like a lender police out there. There are certain signals that will go up for a lender to be aware that the primary owner is not there, but they're not sending people out, making sure.
Right. I just
live there. Yeah.
It obviously could happen. So I was just wondering if there was a procedure to follow and whatever. Yeah.
Well, when somebody dies, you might find, I'm sure this is not surprising to anyone, but the lender knows you've passed away probably before Aunt Betty does, so Social Security sends out an alert right away. But if you can't stay in the home, if you just need more time, the lender is fine with it. It's the people that try and work a system to rent it out or something like that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Great question, Ken. Thank you.
Good, Ken. Yeah, thanks, Ken.
Patina, I see your hand up.
Well, yes, I had a similar question to like with him. Like I had a customer where she had a home, she got the reverse mortgage, but she had to end up definitely into assisted living and for a long time. And then when the assisted living wanted to know what assets that she had, and all of that to see how she was going to be able to pay. So how do that handle if they got a reverse mortgage and then now the assisted living wants to know what assets that individual person have, and it's just one person. She was just living. So
she definitely has a home, right? With a debt on it, right? So, if she has to sell the home because she's going to stay in assisted living, then they sell the home.
Okay, so you have to sell the home.
When it's no longer her primary residence, she either has to sell the home, right? Or, an heir can refinance it for what is owed and keep it.
Okay. But then the heirs will have to get a whole new loan, won't they?
They can refinance it for what's owed or 95% of the appraised value, whichever is lower.
Okay.
Yep. Now, the good thing is too, guys, as the loan signing agent in this, we don't have to know that. We can't explain any of that. So a lot of that type of question is just going to be for personal knowledge. So maybe we can guide somebody to finding out the right answer. But the rules don't change for us. Just when we step into a reverse mortgage, we still can't advise. We don't want to give too much information. If there's deal breaker questions, we can put them in touch with their lender or the closing agent, just like normal. And then we have Trecka Lawson has a question. Would you like to unmute and ask your question, Trecka?
Yeah, actually it's pronounced Teresa, but I'm used to that.
Teresa, sorry.
What if they have a trust of the properties in a trust?
Okay, so Bill and I have a house together, right? Now, Bill and I are very much in love and we're going to get a reverse mortgage and we have a trust. That's fine. The trust has to be approved. okay? Just like any other loan. This is how it works. We're going to close, right? The money's going to go out, and then they're going to record it in the trust. The trust just needs to be approved by title and by the lender.
Yeah. Still it's actually, I run into it a lot on reverse mortgage signings.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we got some great questions in the chat window too. Lori just wants to confirm the heirs can only refi once she passes away. Is that correct?
No, I mean, let's say she wants to sell the house, right? Let's say my kids let's say I can no longer live in the house, right? Or they say, Ma, we don't want you having this reverse mortgage anymore. At any time, they can say, hey, we want to refinance and pay off the bank. No, not just when they die. We're going to imagine that they have the house for life.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So you can refinance out of a reverse mortgage into a regular forward mortgage, or vice versa. You can refinance out of a forward into a reverse. If the numbers make sense, they can do it.
I've had people refinance out of a reverse into a traditional loan.
How do the interest rates compare on a reverse mortgage versus a forward mortgage?
So we have fixed rate products. We also have adjustable rate products. Rates are better than conventional loans.
Excellent.
I mean, right now the market's kind of crazy, right? So I don't want to be quoting rates, but they're under 4%.
Fantastic. So let's talk about fees for the notary. What's a average fee that the notary can expect? And I think this would probably be a good question for me, Nina, if you don't mind. I'm going to break it up. I know we talk about this a lot, and just like everything else, guys, there's a huge range in our fees. So it's important to clarify where we're getting our business. If you're getting it direct from a closing agent, you can probably expect fees at a minimum of $150, probably $200, in some parts of the country between $200 and $300 even. Mm-hmm. If you are working with a signing company, it's going to be different. We know how it works. The signing company is going to take a percentage of that, and they're going to make their offer. And that's where you see like the $65 offers or things like that. There's always going to be companies that try to lowball you. And then there's always companies that respect and honor what you do. And I encourage you, do whatever you got to do to get the experience and the confidence that you need, and then find relationships that are win-win, and they honor and they value the fact that you got certification, that you're in this with their customer. They do exist. There are people, even signing companies, that pay $150 to $200 for these signings. Mm-hmm.
And can I say something quick, Bill? Yeah. Because we had I think somebody had asked a question about a rural part of Florida. And I was talking to our dear friend Amy today, because we were talking about the marketing piece of all of it. And she said there's a lot of times when they get phone calls from title companies in small towns for help to find a reverse signer. Mm.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's tons of opportunity. As far as the companies that hire us, it's going to be the same signing companies. But then if you decide to go direct, guys, there are lenders like Nina. Nina is a certified reverse mortgage professional. She got that designation because she went through special training and a special test. There are about 140, somewhere between 140, 150 of them in the entire country.
And most of them are work for the lender, not too many actually loan producers. So.
Right. So they might have a listing. So if they're loan originators, you can build relationships with them. There's also title companies that specialize in reverse mortgages. Yeah. And I encourage you guys still, that if you're part of Sign and Thrive, if you read the book, if you're in the course, if you've listened to anything I've said, it's relationships, relationships, relationships. So on these reverse mortgage title companies, remember, you're not doing business with a company, you're doing business with a person. So you can connect with individual escrow officers that have to make the decision every day about who they're going to call. And if you have to get on an approved list to work with them, they'll make it happen once you have that relationship. So you really have to dial it back right into relationships, just like in the forward side. Find a way to connect with them, warm it up, if you get the certification, you have a foot in the door right away because they're hungry for people that care about how they perform their duties.
People do business with people they like.
They do business with people they know, like, and trust. Judy Coultry, great to see you on here. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, I'd just like some clarification on the profile that you talked about.
Yeah, no problem. You and I can talk separately on this too. So we've been sending out
Okay.
emails on that for about 3 months. We just kicked it off in January, Judy. So that's the new database with all the profiles, the reversenotary.com. That's how lenders and title companies might be able to find you. So we will, sorry guys, we're still need to keep on mute until you're called. And then Judy, I'll help you get set up too. We'll work with Diana and we'll get that link out to you so you can set up your profile.
And
Okay, sounds great.
I was working today, Bill, with our friend Amy on getting that to them to get some of that out on some of the marketing stuff that we're working on.
Yeah, that's the exciting stuff behind the scenes, guys. That's how we've been working, trying to boost up that database so it's of value to people, and we're reaching that threshold now. And the more notaries we have on there, the more reliable that resource becomes for them, and we can just all get more and more business. We're working on the search engine optimization side of it too. So when people Google reverse mortgage notary or reverse mortgage, you're going to start popping up on those profiles. All right, guys, we have been going for about an hour and a half now. I want to respect your time. We had some really great questions. I feel like we didn't get to nearly enough of them. So if you have any more questions, just shoot me an email to orders@notarycoach.com and we'll copy Nina in and we'll answer any additional questions that you have on there, especially on the training part. We're happy to help. If you decide to get the training at notarycoach.com/CRMSP, there will be tons, like all your questions will be answered in those modules. We really went deep to really give you an understanding and help raise the bar in this industry. So thank you so much. I honor you for spending your Monday evening with us. And Nina, of course, I love and appreciate having you as part of our community here. I just love how you've stepped in and shared so much of yourself with us.
I'm sorry, Bill, that I busted your kneecaps and your hip.
That's all right. According to the chat window, you have promised me some cookies and other stuff that you will be making good on. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, guys. See you later.
Stay away from me.